Hi everyone, I'm Yasmina Slimani. I'm the CEO and founder of Elysian Wealth Ventures, where we've launched the first private by design global finance app to support global citizens and the businesses that support them to take the control over their finances wherever they are at their fingertips. And I'm super excited to be joined today by Florence, who is a serial expat, a mom of three, and also the founder of Expat Village, one of our business partners. So super excited to have you join us today, Florence.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm so thrilled because I'm not a finance person. We have in our family a CFO who is my husband, and we have another CFO that you have in front of me, which is the Chief Family Officer. So I'm so glad you're going to tell me more because I'm sure within the village it's going to help so many people around the world.
In order to, I've heard some of your talks. I know you've even wrote some books. Can you tell us more about your personal experience? How was it like when you started moving abroad? And I think your experience and background is super interesting. So cannot wait for everybody to hear more about it.
Thank you. So, as you just mentioned, I'm a serial expat, which means that I've been moving around the world. I left France about 20 years ago already. That's when you actually think, how old is she? But I lived in many different countries, both working, creating my family in Dubai. My daughters were born in Dubai, and also living and working everywhere. And I had the chance to really build my job around my passion or my passion around my job. So I'm helping expats from 6 years old to C levels to understand how to develop their global mindset, which is for me key to make the most of the expat adventure abroad.
And what are some of the most common challenges that you see when you work with expats? I mean, it's such a broad range of ages and locations as well.
Definitely. So the first one would be, and I try to get rid of it, but I can't. It's the French accent. So language would be one. I'm working on it, but as you can see, it's still there. And I think when you move without children, you're more like creating, like your career, and also making sure you know where you're gonna live if you feel at home, and of course how you can build up for after. And once you move with your family, your values changes even quicker and more because you need to think of your kids as well. So I think what is really important is to create your own cultural family culture that will help you out throughout the moves, and also to make sure you can deal with the logistics.
Yeah, I can. You make it sound so easy. I guess that's what happens when you're a serial expat. You're like, yeah, that's how we do it. um, can you think of any cultural shocks that stood out to you throughout those different moves, and also if you can share how you navigated those?
Yes, I think the biggest one, and you're gonna laugh, but had a client yesterday and he was like, how is it to move from a very cold country to a very warm country? I was like, you're gonna be fine. The worst one is to move from the Middle East to the UK. Because when you have children or even you that really don't know what tights are or wellies are, you're just like, okay, and this is a toughest spot. So we have to really take into account, as I mentioned, the identity part, the language, the way you're gonna live, the schools, and also the climate. It's a big one. And of course, and this is my worst nightmare, is the finances. But I'm sure you're gonna help us on this one. This one is not an easy one, but I think yes, you have like really like a checklist of things, and the most important, I think, it's to really go abroad with open eyes and an open heart, because this is where you can really navigate the easiest way, I would say.
Yeah, I think I can totally relate to that in terms of the having that open mind, because whenever I've had a bad experience as an expat. It's when I thought I knew what to expect where I was going. And often it was the case because, we talk about expatriation, we don't talk as much about impatriation. And when I moved, I was in Morocco, moved to France, and that culture, that was difficult to me. That's because I thought I knew what to expect. And same thing when I moved from the US to the UK. I was like, I moved to the US, I didn't speak English, now I speak English. How hard can it be, right? I'm going to another English speaking country. And man, was that hard. So yeah, it's really that open mind, that open heart, and embracing, I think, the cultures. How does, I mean, Expat Village, I love it. I love everything you've been doing, creating that. I love how you talk about it, so I'll let you do that as well. But can you tell us more about Expat Village and how you've been helping expats build that sense of community anywhere they go?
So what happened is I created Expat Village during COVID because everyone was on their own. And I think when you're expat, you felt even more lonely. And this was really difficult, to share. And I really wanted to have in the village solutions that can help each and everyone, regardless of the country they live in. So some expats like Dubai are very easy, I would say. Some in Saudi Arabia are a bit more tricky. And so I really wanted to have specialists in different domain, because I really believe that you are good at something, you can be good at many things as well, but you really need to have great ears that understand what are your issues and challenges, and worldwide, because we are citizens of the world. And this really helps everyone, and this is why I created Expat Village. So each and everyone are everywhere in the world, and now being based in London, we have Expat Village in London. And this will help also because, as you just mentioned, French people coming to the UK, they just think they just cross the channel and it's going to be really easy, which is not the case. And even more people from around the world coming to the UK as well. It's not that easy, even if everyone speaks English at the end of the day.
And what are some practical ways expats, do you think, can make meaningful connections when they arrive in a new country? I mean, you've done it so easily, right? I mean, how you haven't been in the UK that long, right? Like you, as I said earlier, you make it all look very easy and sound very easy. So, any tips on that would be great.
I think, and we were talking about it yesterday, actually, it's really to be prepared. You have the fear of the unknown, which is completely normal. You have a culture shock at one point. But if you know it's going to happen, then it's way easier to understand your emotions, what your kids will go through, what your husband might go through as well. So if you are prepared, and sometimes people think, yeah, I'm just moving, like if they were going on holiday, which is not the case. You really need to be prepared on all the different aspects we mentioned. And once you're prepared, it makes it easy. Kind of. But as long what we do as an intercultural trainer is we really help people before, while they are abroad, and also after. Because you mentioned repatriation, we talk a lot about it. We're actually having a webinar on the 29th of April, to make sure that you're not going back, you're just going. So it's a new expat as well, and if you see it as such, it will be easy, because it's like you when you move from Morocco to France, the same kind of language and stuff. But it's, there are tricky parts to look at it.
And talking about preparation, I remember you and I, we met before you even arrived here. You were still in Dubai, and we met through our very good friend Sophie. And it's like you already knew the people before you came here. So I feel like that preparation is so important. And I definitely saw you uh, going through that journey, and in a very successful manner. So it's really, I can really vouch for that. You've done it. You don't just say it, you do it. One thing that you touched upon earlier is like some of the issues with finances when you travel, when you relocate. That's obviously something we are very big on. When you talk to your clients or future expats or current expats, what are some of the common financial struggles that you see that they face?
It's quite interesting. I think people are scared of the currency. So currency is one of them. They always don't know, like they all have the impression that because they move from one country to the other, they have to close a bank account and start a new one, etc. So they don't see like this continuing thing. Yeah. And also they don't know about savings. They don't know how they're going to handle a bank account here and there. Um, just people don't know. And I think it's very important because it's a lot of stress, and I think having your app is just making things way easier. And it's also reassuring because you never know when you move who's gonna be your account manager. You never know if you're gonna speak to the same person. You never know if you can. Yeah, everyone is changing, everything is changing. It's stupid, but just the code of a card. I mean, what you write it down somewhere, you forget, you lose your phone, I mean, life just like is here and with its up and down, and at least everything is at the same place, right?
And you're right. Like there's some accounts that you can close, right? You can easily close an account because you know you're moving. I think that that thought of like, okay, I need to transfer money. Absolutely, and also because you're going to have some local expenses, depending on whether your employer is picking those up or not, and you may want to buy a new place, so that transfer is really important. We're very much like Expat Village from that perspective, where we love to work with the right experts in their field. So whilst we don't do money transfer ourselves, we know a lot of experts who are amazing at doing that, making sure that they will work on some proper strategies with their clients. And I know some of the people, we know them. I think some of them are in the village as well, in Expat Village. And the other thing is that even when you would like to close an account, it's not always possible, because let's say it's a pension plan, it's with your previous employer, or you've transferred it onto a bank account, but then it has to be within a specific tax jurisdiction in order to, because if you take it out, one, you're going to pay taxes, but two, you're going to pay penalties because you may be under a certain age. And when you're talking about pensions, that's like you need to be, um, you know, close to 60s in some, depending on the countries, in order to be able to take the money out without paying any penalties. So even something that looked liquid on paper because it's invested in the market, etc., ends up being illiquid because it's stuck to your certain tax jurisdictions. And and you're absolutely right. And that's something that we see a lot, where even within a single country, people will have different pension plans with previous employers. And by the way, it's not always in the best interest of people to move it. So that's why for us, we wanted a tool that would give people that freedom and that flexibility of keeping their accounts where it makes sense for them to keep that account, and in the country where it makes sense to keep that account, whilst keeping track of it without losing it. Because that's another thing when you move. And like you said, like you move, you may lose something on the way, right? You may lose a piece of paper, but we actually also see people losing track of accounts, and then all of a sudden they forget they have an account. And if something happens to them, obviously, then nobody's ever gonna know. And I've got some pretty striking numbers that I share, because when I started looking into this, I share that story a lot because it happened to me. And I always say, and I'm a finance person. I have my Excel spreadsheet. I keep track of everything. And when I moved from the from the US to the UK, I thought about my pension plan, but I totally forgot I had a health saving account with my previous employer. And I remember my friend I cannot remember if I've said that story before or not. So sorry if I repeated myself. But remember one of my friends sending me a link to a government, like a government link where you can enter your name, social security, and they will tell you if you've got accounts somewhere that are lost. And he sent that to me, and I was like, come on, it's me. Like, come on. So to be honest, I did not use it right away. And one day, I think it was Saturday morning. Saturday morning is my preferred time to get through finances. I've got my coffee, family's still sleeping, and I went on that account and on that link, and I saw an account with my name, and I was like, "This is not possible." I was like, "This is a joke! Like, this is a joke!" Like, I seriously, I was like, "Somebody's got the same name," but it was my name, my address, everything, and there was an account there. So, and that's when I started doing more research. I started talking to people, and I realized that there were a lot of people like me. One of our investor actually shared with me that story. He was like, "Oh, you know that thing that you told me," and I was like, "There's no way that happens." He's like, "I just found out I had an account from my very first job 30 years ago, and back then there was not much, but today it's like $50,000, and I just get a letter saying I had that amount." But because imagine that's money that is invested in the market, so it was not a lot back then, but 30 years later, it's grown. So I started looking at some numbers, and I found that just in the UK, there is 33 billion pounds, or 31, 32, whatever, over 30 billion pounds of assets just in pension plans that are lost, dormant. That's just pensions. And then I was like, okay, so that's pensions. What else? We looked into it. And the number, what's interesting is that from the moment I started the company to today, I keep on seeing that number growing increasingly every year. So I think when I started the company, the numbers were around like 40, 50 billion pounds of accounts lost just in the UK. And today we're close to 80 billion. That's in less than 3 years. And then, because we work a lot with the US, I started looking at US numbers, so US plus UK. We're over. Okay, do you want to guess?
I'm bad with numbers, but is it like going like trillions or something because people forget?
In pounds, we're like just under 2 trillion pounds of accounts that are lost between the UK and the US. That's just those two countries, right? We haven't even looked at the rest of the world. So this is very much something that is important, and that we are, I was like, with our app, it's like when you move and before you move, that's why that preparation is so important. First of all, you should always do it. Always keep track of your of what you have, regardless of you're on the move or not. But even more so when you know you're going to be moving, make sure that all your life is in order. It's also very important to keep track of things when you're away at your fingertips, because like another situation that happened to me just a couple months ago. I've got so many stories. I'm the first user of my app, of course. Um, but just a couple of months ago, my bank in the US, they changed something. So all of a sudden, I no longer had access to my account. So I was like, my net worth dropped, and I was like, where is that coming from? And it was coming from that account that just dropped. But because I saw it right away, I was able to contact them and be like, hey guys, okay, I haven't been in the US, or I've been, but I haven't had the chance to talk to you. But I'm still there. I'm not, that's my money and I want it. So that's why it's so important to always keep track all the time. And I'm not saying look at your app every day, but just once in a while. And that's what we help. That's what we do.
Can you tell us more? Because I guess, like I was mentioning the CFO, which is half of a joke. But sometimes, like both are working, or one is working, the other one is working in differently. How can we use it? Like who can use it?
Especially, so here you're using the example of a couple. And in a couple's relationship, one is going to be, I mean, we've got so much to deal with, right? So one person is going to be naturally taking care of certain tasks, and the other one is going to do it as well. I think it's important to do that because we just have so many hours in the day. But it's also important to make sure that the person that whoever, in the case of the finances, whoever is in charge of the finances, making sure that the other person is aware of what's happening, and also where to get the information. So that's one thing we like to do with the app, is that sharing of information between couples. I mean, between who, so that's in the case of a family. We also do it in such a way where there could be some sharing of information with a chosen trusted advisor. So in the case of, let's say you want to do your taxes and you want to share the information with your tax advisor, that's the person that our users are able to say, I want to send this to this advisor. Or worst case scenario, if something was to happen, you can also identify an executor, and the information can be passed on to that executor so that they can take care of anything that needs to be taken care of for when the person is no longer here. But it's important to have beforehand, to have that sharing of information, especially within a family, within a couple, so that it's also whoever is not the person doing the finances, at least create that curiosity. But also, one thing I find is that the person who's not doing it, because they're not doing it, it creates some anxiety when they start hearing about it. And one way to overcome that anxiety is to create that regular conversation, which once you have that information shared through the app, where each person has the app, but they've agreed on sharing the information between each other, then you can be like, oh, what's happening here? It's like it creates that curiosity. So it's curiosity without the stress of having to do it, and you're just tracking it, and naturally over time, it will help be on top of it. Maybe also get more interested in it. Ask more questions. You're going to ask questions to your partner, but then you're going to ask questions to your friends who may, like me, who are in finance, and be like, hey, what do you think about that? And where do you think I can get more information on this? So it starts in a very, very natural, soft, natural way to do that.
For me, and this is one of the reason I love the fact that you're in the village, and also I love the app. It's because I have a big allergy to spreadsheets. It's just like creating, the curiosity of having an app. So, I mean, you are waiting for the kid at school, you can just go and have a look. It's so handy, and I won't say it's easy yet. I'm getting there. And I think also it's so important. We mentioned about culture shock, we mentioned about so many things. The fact to be prepared for, as you mentioned, for the worst, or the fact to be prepared for the next expat. It's also very yes, it's I think this is one of the main thing that you can control. And in our expat life, you have so many things you can't, but at least your finances and the app, you can control it, and you can be curious and make sure it follows you wherever you are. And this is priceless, if I could say. So yeah.
And I think you've that's exactly what we wanted to create, and that's why we're also the first app to be mobile first, because the way we are thinking about we were thinking about it is, when you sit down and I mean, the last thing you want to do over the weekend is sit down in front of your computer to look at your finances. um, so that's why we wanted something that would be, in your hands, on the go. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna, maybe it's obviously you have to set it up at first, but instead of like taking hours to input the information and then update it manually, because one thing we found is that for expats, just to keep track and update, that's like, yeah, it's crazy amount. It's like the equivalent of a whole working month per year. Yeah, yeah. So that's how much on average it takes for somebody who's got like stuff, like multiple, like spread accounts, because and then that's just to update it, right? So once you've spent that whole amount of time, the last thing you want to do is spend another hour. So most people just stop. So they haven't even started thinking about, okay, what do I do now? Like the decision making, which is where you're actually going to make or save money, as I say. And so that's why we wanted something that would be very quick to do. So it's mobile first. You connect your accounts, and once you're connected, so it takes you a few minutes, and then it updates automatically. So you've literally just saved a whole working month.
I was wondering, how did you get the idea? I get it's come from your personal experience as well, but how did you get the idea of creating the app?
Yeah, it was very much that. I mean, obviously, my background. So when I started in the financial industry, it was in wealth management, and where I was managing portfolios for high net worth. And one thing, like the very first step of any wealth management journey, before you even start thinking about the investment decision, it's understanding what you have. You need to get that holistic view so that you can then make better decisions. And so from, very early on, I've always been very good at tracking my wealth, like on my nice little Excel spreadsheets, and updating it like on a, very religious manner, like once a month. And obviously, when I started early on, my life was pretty simple, and then moved to the, I didn't have that many, like I worked for different employers in the US, but I had consolidated back then into one account. And I'm not saying it was, I don't know if it was the best decision back then, but that's what I did. It did make sense actually. Um, but then when we moved here, I still had that, and then I had a bank account, and then obviously met my husband. He had something in the U.S. too, and then we moved here. I was very good. I had one employer for eight eight for 9 years. I was in asset management with HSBC, and then my husband started changing jobs. So he had like a pension here, a pension there, and we started investing in real estate, and then we started investing in some small companies. We also had, because I'm originally from France, I still had my bank account in France.
I was going to say the bank account when you were a student that you forget somehow.
Yeah, well, but I had my livret A, I had my PER because I was a very good student and I was saving money because I knew one day I wanted to start a company. So I was the one friend that at the end of the month still had a bit of money on the account. So my friends were like, "Hey, can I borrow some money?" um, so there was that, and then um, so our life became very complex very quickly. So that nice little spreadsheet that I had that would taken me a few minutes at first to update because I had two accounts, became complex. Then we started having like a Revolut account for when we travel, and then we have like an Amex because we have the companion vouchers, and then we had like, anyway, you end up with like a lot of different things, and before you know it, you have 20 accounts, maybe 15, 20. Because, and then you have your mortgage, and then you do real estate, so you've got three mortgages because you have three properties at least, and then you've got um, and then one day I remember my husband was like, okay, we've got this money, we had a bit of cash. I think I had just got a bonus or something, and he was like, how should we invest it? And I was like, I'm a portfolio manager. So I was like, listen, I know what our ant portfolio should look like. I have no idea how we are today because I haven't had the chance. We were so busy. I haven't had the chance to do the whole allocation. So I had done it like at the end of the previous year, but the market had moved so much that it was all over the place. So we had had done this had done that. So the allocation was all over the place and all of the other stuff. And I didn't have time. And I was like, I can tell you what it should look like. I have no idea where we are today because everything's changed. There's been a lot of volatility in the market. I don't know what our allocation looks like today. And that's when I told him, I need something. I need an app that will do all that update for me because I'm sick of spending all that time on the manual update. So that's why we're developing. So that's why we developed the app. And I was like, also, I don't trust anyone. So I want it to be private by design. I want that when I connect, nobody's going to see any of my information. That's why I like Excel, and that's why yeah. So that's how we went. The private by design, global, at your fingertips. I was like, I don't want to be sat on my computer. I want it on the go. If I'm on the tube, if I'm picking up, my daughter, if I'm on the plane, but I still just want to quickly see what's going on, even if I don't have an internet connection, I want it. I want to see what I've got. And that's what we did. So I was like, I challenged him. I said, how can I do that with technology? Obviously, I'm not a tech person, and we did it. Yeah. So we were very. So it was a personal problem. I realized that other people had it because I was working in finance. I realized that some of the financial institutions had it, and I was like, okay, it's probably time to go and create a solution to help more people. And today we're working, as you know, mainly with businesses. So we have a lot of businesses that have our app as a white label solution for their clients. And then thanks to businesses like yours, we're able to offer the app to more people. We are invitation only. So it's only thanks to, Expat Village that your community is going to be able to have access to the app. We also have a wait list on our website. So people who don't know you or don't know me, we still want to give them the option to contact us and see if we can help them. But also we wanted something that is subscription based. So it's not based on how much money you have. It's more based on, do you need the app, yes or no? And if you do, just pay the like a subscription fee. But yeah, so that's very important. And I think one question that one day you asked me is like, is it only for expats, or the day I'm no longer an expat, is it still worth it? And my answer to that would be more than ever, yes, because even when you're no longer an expat, you still have stuff all over the place. And I haven't even talked about the issue when, when something happens to, when you're originally from a different country and something happens to one of the parents and you end up inheriting. I mean, it just, first of all, it's a sad event, but it also makes your financial life so complex right away because all of a sudden you have to deal with even more stuff. So, whilst we focus on helping global people, because that's where we see a lot of need, ultimately, if somebody has a complex financial life, even if it's in just one country, we can still help them. The app can still help them. And then what we do is that we like to partner with experts, like yourself, but also from a tax perspective, from a wealth advisory perspective, legal perspective. The same way you have a lot of those experts in your village, that's something that we love to find, those great companies out there that we can then connect with our clients.
Yeah, because people most of the time they get stuck, they stay on their own, they just like push the problem apart, thinking that they don't see it, so it's not there. And at the end of the day, we are really here. And I think you created the app, I created the village because of our passion for helping others. And so I think this would be really important. And this is why we spread the word as well today. It's to make sure that people understand. And even if they are not a finance person, and I think I'm the best example. And you promise to train me even more, huh? Yes, you have some work, you have some a job to do, but it's really the fact that you are one on one, you are not on your own, and it's really helping you on a daily basis. So I think this is the main message. It's to make sure that people know there are solutions to their challenges.
Just to very curious, any upcoming projects or event for Expat Village? I mean, I know we were talking about something, but
Yeah, we were talking about something. So I think it's official. So we're going to have Expat Village in London. And I'm so happy because I think everyone said yes. So that's great. So we'll have Expat Village in London on the 16th of September, and that would be an Institut Français because we are French. And it will be from 8:30 to basically 1:30. So take the day on the 16th. And no, and I have a brand new news because we just started. I'm gonna write another book.
Obviously, we'll be there on the 16th with you as part of Expat Village, and we're super excited. Last year was a success, and the feedback was amazing.
Thank you. It's a lot of work. That's why we know already when it's gonna be. But as you mentioned, time flies. So
But yeah, thank you so much for your time. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out directly to Florence or to myself. We're here, happy to help. As you can see, you've got expats here having gone through the challenges, the pain, the good and the ugly, and always happy to help. And that's it for today. Thank you so much, Florence, and cannot wait to be with you on the 16th. But hopefully, I'll see you before that.
yeah, yeah. I hope we'll see each other before. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for offering such a great solution for people who are not in the field. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's all about empowerment. So you love empowering your clients, and we do the same with what we know best, which is finance and financial solutions.